So, welcome, happy World Mental Health Day, everybody. So we're here celebrating together. It's an important day. So I'm really glad to have you here. So just to remind you that this session is being recorded. Probably you already got it on the recording, which is great. And also, if you feel like having your camera on, that's actually great. If not, is also okay. Yes, we want to provide here a nice, safe space to be together today. So don't feel like obliged to do anything at all. But I'm quite glad to have you in this session. Hello, who just joined. Yeah. All right. So let's get this started. Welcome everybody once again, and happy World Mental Health Day. You see us from my background, the topic of this year, Mental Health Day, Our Minds, Our Rights. This is a big topic. So mental health is actually our intrinsic human right. It means it's not an optional, it's part of our health, right? And this should be as important as physical health. So once again, thanks for being here. We will be 45 minutes together in this room, and glad to see you all. I would like to introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Alessandra. I'm the founder of FindYourWay Coaching. As you can see in the screen that I'm sharing, is the logo at the bottom. Yes, at the bottom right. That is my company. I actually joined the platform of UP Zürich 3 years ago. That's where I heard that they were actually having professional trainers and consultants on their platform to enable the citizens of the city of Zurich to access mental health services, trainings, and education. And of course, I had to join, right? I've been living in Zurich for the past 14 years myself. And in the past 10 years, I've been working in the topic of mental health. I changed my profession completely. I used to work in communication. This is why actually I brought communication with me in my company. And I studied psychology as well. So I work with businesses and with individuals, bridging the two topics that you see right now, communication and mental health. Basically, I want to teach you today in this session how to improve our mental health by using the right communication skills. And especially one communication skill, assertive communication. That's actually my specialization. And together with it, I also go to universities and I work with many companies and individuals to really understand how can we be better communicators and how come our mental health is affected by not so good communication. So once again, this is what I do, and I hope that I can teach you in this training something really practical. I'm a very practical trainer, so I hope that today you go home with a few things that you can apply immediately. So because this is a relatively short session and we cannot go one by one introduce ourselves, I still would like to do a little activation. I would like to use something called the whiteboard. So I'm going to do another sharing with you and opening a little something called whiteboard. Bear with me as I do that. Exactly. And I would like that in this whiteboard that now you see, I put it a co-creation. If you could actually write down on a little post-it, you see the sticky notes that I'm using and I'm writing on it. I'm writing confidence, which is the word that makes me think of when I think of assertiveness. What is assertiveness to you? So I would like that if you can put your word on the whiteboard. So we activate a little bit, and also we learn what assertiveness is to each one of you. I see you can use the post-its wonderfully, so I'm quite glad of this co-creation. Mental health is also about community. So Clotilde is saying, be honest. Thank you. Then I see decision maker. Yes, thank you. Confidence, control, authority, right. Self-confidence, exactly. It's quite fun to see everything moving. I think it's a good activation for the end of the afternoon. If you don't know how to use the little post-it, you feel free to use the chat or just tell me, unmute yourself. That's all good. All All right, so we have a few things. It means that we are confident. It means that we might sound authoritative. It means to be honest. It means to be a decision maker, preparation, control. So it can mean actually many of those things that you have mentioned in your post-it. All right, so I can see still a few people writing. Okay, perfect. So this is a little activation to be on the same page of what assertiveness is, because I've been doing this training for a long time, and there are so many different definitions of assertiveness, right? Each one of us thinks of it in a very different way. So I would like to give you now my definition and explain to you how we're gonna do that, how we're going to actually navigate that. Okay, so understanding assertive communication. Assertive communication means the clear expression of our needs. It means being direct. It means being honest, which is something that you actually put in your post-it, and being respectful in our communication. Let's be very clear. When we say direct for assertive communication, it does not mean that we have to say whatever we want and disregard others. It actually means that I respect what others have to say, and I make room for what I want to communicate by validating my needs and my thoughts. So it's a communication that is respectful to myself and to others. As you can see here, actually in the slide, in the little image, it's completely different communication than being aggressive, which is basically imposing our will in our communication style, and also passive, which means we don't decide. So we end up doing what others want. You can imagine how actually every communication style is connected to either poor or good mental health. Think how an aggressive communicator can transmit anxiety and stress to others. Think, for example, when we are victim of aggressive communication. Think of dealing every day with a potential aggressive partner or aggressive manager, but also for people who use aggressive communication themselves. There is a lot of negativity. There is a lot of stress going on in their bodies and in their mind, because aggressive communication provokes this. So assertive communication is none of those. It's actually a communication in which we express what we want and we respect other needs too. There is also a cost for completely the other spectrum, passive communication. What is the cost of passive communication? Basically, we repress our needs and feelings. And actually, what we do is that we create internal conflicts. Therefore, this is also not good for mental health. This takes a toll on self-esteem. And when the self-esteem decreases, there is always an impact on our mental health. Perhaps you have seen this in your life. When you were a victim of aggressive communication, or when you were engaging in passive communication, perhaps you felt that you couldn't sleep, or perhaps you felt that your self-esteem was lowering. And actually, to be able to use assertive communication, there is something very important that we need to do. First of all, we need to believe in our needs and believe that what we want to say is valid. That's really an important part of assertiveness. And we also have to believe in the value of honesty. We have to believe that honesty will bring us far. That's a very good pre-preparation to explore assertiveness. But why am I here in this session bringing assertiveness as a kind of antidote to anxious feelings? I'm going to explain you right now. So as I said before, assertiveness is a way of communication that promotes great confidence. And nowadays, what's happening in the world, according to the World Health Organization, is that 4% of the global population is anxious. 4%, this is a lot. It's a lot. We are all experiences anxiety, also as a consequence of our geopolitical situation. There is a lot of uncertainty, can bring anxious feelings, right? So this we know. And we have seen also with COVID, the past 3 years, there was a 25% increase in anxiety and depression all over the world. Also, I work with a lot of companies, and I know, because I really look into this a lot, the cost of poor communication for leaders and companies is very high. Actually, the average company, global company like we have many in Switzerland, loses 62 million per year because of inadequate communication. Why? Because when we're not communicating well and there are conflicts at work, lots of conflicts at work, there would be actually more misunderstanding and there would be more turnover. So people leave situations. leave companies, and there could be also more burnout. However, once again, there is a great solution. A part of the solution could be in why don't we try to be more assertive to actually help our anxious feelings? There are scientific studies that actually show that being more assertive helps in anxiety reduction. And one of these studies says that because people who are assertive really value communication with other people and they don't need to win in their communication style, they deal with interpersonal communication much better. This is why I teach this within companies, and I want to teach you now. So I want to tell you also that 90% of the participants that came to the assertive communication trainings that I'm doing with FindYourWay Coaching reported less stress. This is why I said, okay, I need to once again take this topic in the World Mental Health Day event. All right, so if we know that assertive communication is a more confident communication and helps a lot with our mental well-being, why do you think that why don't we all try to be better communicators? If now we know that it takes a toll on our mental health not to be good communicators, why do you think we're not all communicating assertively? Could you tell me what you think in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, as you please.
I think, hi, my name is Özge.
Hello.
Sorry for being late. It was updating, Zoom was updating itself.
No worries.
So first of all, I was a bit surprised that you said 4% of the people is anxious. I would expect to see somewhere around 85-90% of global population is anxious. Must be my perception.
Four is still a lot, though. 4 is still a lot.
Yeah.
But please tell me what you wanted to.
I think they are. Some of them are afraid to hurt other people's feelings. Yeah. Because maybe they are afraid to be misunderstood.
Exactly.
That's the major thing, I believe.
Thank you so much. Özge, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I see also in the chat a lot lack of healthy boundaries because we don't know how to start. The belief system, the lack of communication skills, we're afraid of conflict. And actually it's very true. And I see this with my clients a lot. The answer is also because it's hard. It's not so easy to be assertive. It's hard to be good communicators. This is why I want to really teach you now. I have seen that all these things that you're mentioning in the chat, also there is something to mention as well. Having worked with many people, there are two things that I really see. First of all, the difficulty in saying no, especially saying no in a work context where it can be misunderstood by not wanting to do things, or we fear people's judgment. Also, to make requests sometimes is considered very, very uncomfortable. Why? Because we might not want to bother. So nowadays in society, feeling we don't want to bother other people. Or when we are when we're actually making a request to people to stop doing something, because as you were all saying in the chat, and Özge was also saying, we don't want to have conflicts. So it's in human nature. We are social animals. We crave acceptance. We want to belong. So conflict is the really opposite of that, right? Because we fear that by having a conflict, we might then create problems in belonging as well. So again, a lot of fear and a lot of lack of upskilling ourselves as, for example, potential leaders, of really placing the right boundaries. Do you know that actually the lack of placing boundaries is one of the leading causes of burnout? So one more time, let's see how we can be, in a very practical way, better communicator, because I want you to communicate well, to have good mental health, and not be at dissatisfaction with your communication style. All right, I would like then to do a demonstration of how to start doing very good assertive communication. I need a volunteer for that. So I am going to be the one simulating the assertive communication. You don't need to do anything. You just need to be my interlocutor. Who would like to be a volunteer? Again, you are not going to be on the spot. Is just a way for me to help to communicate.
I can be Alessandra.
Great. Thank you, Petra. Wonderful. All right. So, Petra, what am I gonna demo now is so actually people can see what I mean with assertive communication style, and also people can understand what I do in my trainings. I will communicate something to you that has been bothering me, and I will also communicate something more related to a workplace situation. All right, Petra, I would like to have a conversation with you if possible. Do you have time now?
Sure, absolutely.
Great, thank you so much. All right, I wanted to let you know that I feel that in our team right now we're sending way too many emails, and I feel and I have observed that this has been creating constant misunderstanding between us two. Also, the other day I got quite worried seeing how you had potentially misunderstood my email. This is why I decided to talk to you. How would you feel if we decided to have less meetings or find a common way to be able to handle these written communications as well?
Well, I think it would be a great idea to sit down and to discuss, what are expectations, right? And to be clearer on certain tasks and what we want to get out of this.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for being open to this, Petra. All right. Thank you, Petra. We will comment in a minute. Yeah, but thank you for being my interlocutor. That was very kind. All right. I need now also another volunteer. Again, it's just being a conversation. I'm going to be in the spot, not you. Anyone else would like?
I'll volunteer.
Thank you, Gareth. Nice meeting you. Thank you for being here.
You.
All right. So, Gareth, I wanted to have a conversation with you in private, if that's okay for you.
Sure.
Right. The other day, and this has happened in many other occasions, you have interrupted me during a meeting. I know that perhaps this hasn't been your intention. However, when you... Oh! I will just mute you for a second, Gareth. Somebody decided to drill while I was talking to you, but you can unmute yourself in a second. When you are interrupting me in meetings, I feel very frustrated because I think it's important that I bring my ideas forward. And therefore, I decided to come to you to make you understand how I feel regarding that. I do have a request, though, and I hope you're open to it, that if it's possible for me to always finish my ideas. I know that we are very keen in having ideas in the team. However, I would like to have the possibility to finish the sentence, and then I'm always open to your feedback. May I know what was behind your decision to interrupt me the other day? Because that's quite a difficult one to tackle for me.
Yeah, I just feel like you take very long to get to the point, and I feel like I'm trying to help you along and get to the actual conversation point, and I think that you just beat about the bush a little bit too much. So I'm really just trying to help you to have us have a successful meeting.
Thank you, Gareth. I know your intentions might be nice when you are doing this, and I take notes that I might go a little bit longer. However, I think it's very important also for the people that we work together that we don't interrupt each other. I think it could get quite annoying, even though your intentions are good. So I really hope that we can work through that in a different way.
It's difficult to it's difficult to still be difficult with you because it feels like such a reasonable request. It feels like I don't have a foot to stand on to keep arguing. It's yeah.
All right. Here we are demonstrating something. Thank you both, Gareth and Petra. Thank you so much. Let's discuss all together. So what you said, Gareth, is very powerful. You said that then it became very difficult to counteract my argument. But again, assertiveness it's not a way necessary to have a dialectic exchange. Is more actually to be able to listen to each other. So what was I doing? I was using in both situations the I statements. Did you notice that? I think you both noticed that. So I said, I feel, I said, I have observed, and it always was I statement and not you statement. Yes, and I also say, I hope you're open to it. Thank you, April. Yes, exactly. So I kept saying I and not you. I could have told Gareth, you always interrupt me. I cannot anymore, which perhaps was on my mind. But what would I reach by having a you statement? Probably defensiveness.
Exactly.
The same. Petra, yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I think that exactly that would have happened if you would have used the you over the I form, that, you know, immediately one would, you know, try to, you know, defend themselves and maybe even get aggressive or hurt, or, you know, yeah, it would have been a negative way, and talking or putting the whole, like, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the accountability on me or Garrett versus coming from your place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's very well put. Precisely. So that's what we're going to do. And again, this can become very powerful, especially at the workplace. As Gareth also was saying, it's very hard to have this type of conversations at work, I think, because they might entail a conflict. But we are working in teams. We are working together with other people, no matter what our job is. We are exchanging also with family in our personal life. I statements are powerful. It's not the same if I say, when you come late every time, I feel very lonely, I feel frustrated, to a friend who is always late, as opposite as, you are always late, I can't anymore, and we stop the conversation. I understand why sometimes this might not be easy to do, especially if there are many emotions at play. But I think it's a great way to actually feel less stressed and less anxious about a conversation. So this is all about mental health too. Something I didn't say is, I disagree, rather than you are wrong, but I put it in the slide for you to have an example of I statement. I use this in all my assertiveness trainings with teams. It's called Assertiveness for Mental Wellbeing. It's really powerful. Teams are like, wow, okay, then I can say what I think, and I feel safe. Psychological safety is very much related to good mental health and to communication too. All right, yes, April, you are right. You're wrong is such a negative statement, absolutely. All right, so here we have I statement, open question. I was asking Petra and Gareth, how would you feel? What about? What is the reason behind that? If you notice, I didn't say why. Why were you interrupting me? Yes, you could say that, but what is the reason behind means that I'm willing to hear Gareth out. So I could be completely close because the person interrupted me. But if I say what is behind that, it means I am willing to even understand. So that's very powerful. Okay, after this, demonstrating curiosity. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so again, I want this to be practical for you. The demo continues. I'm now going to show you an example of how to say no. All right, so who would like to be another volunteer? Again, you've seen with Gareth and Petra, I'm the one who is going to be on the spot, not you. Anyone would like to be my interlocutor?
I could do it.
Thank you, April. It's very nice. Nice to meet you.
Nice
All right. So, April, I would like that if you could ask me to do something totally unreasonable, meaning that you might know I won't have time to do it, or something a bit exaggerated, of course, within the boundaries of what is possible. But let's try.
Okay. Alessandra, I know you are getting married tomorrow, but I need you to stay and work really late tonight. We have this report due, and it has to be done before 6 a.m. So you're going to have to stay at work today. Very late.
Wow. Wow. So, April.
I can't hear no.
How can I put this? Right now, there are many emotions going through me. So as I had mentioned to you, tomorrow is my big day, and I agreed to come into work today because I know that after that I'm gonna have a few days off, and I knew that there could be the risk of something to do, but I hope you can understand how I'm feeling right now and all the stress that I'm having because of the wedding. So unfortunately, I don't see any way that I can handle a report. I know this is potentially going to disappoint you. I'm quite feeling very nervous right now, saying no to you. But as you can understand, this is a once in a lifetime moment for me tomorrow. Okay, there are still a couple of hours of work. I could help you find the right person for that. How would that be for you?
Wow, I really appreciated how you shared your feelings in that moment about like you were nervous to have this conversation, but you were doing it anyway. And then you presented a compromise, like you didn't shut down to the unrealistic demand. You responded with kindness, with your feelings, and then you're like, but I can make all efforts while I'm here. I love that.
Exactly.
Again,
Thank you, April, for that. So once again, it takes courage to be assertive. But if we don't say no to things which are, for example, very unreasonable, it means we say yes. And when we say yes to things that are very unreasonable, we can harbor a lot of resentment. We can harbor a lot of anger. This is not good for mental health. This is also sometimes what happens when we become very overwhelmed and burnt out. So once again, communication for mental health. All right, the demo is almost coming to an end. I would need one more volunteer, please, still to demonstrating how to say no. Would anyone like to be my interlocutor?
I can always go ahead. I just want to give space to others because I also have a follow-up question later on.
Sure, that's very kind of you. Yeah.
If no one else is volunteering, I can help.
Sure, great. Odzge, so please, can you ask me to do something? Now, it doesn't have to be unreasonable. It could be actually something normal to do, but I am going to say no to you. So any request that could actually be reasonable within the workplace or not, you can choose. Okay.
So, hi, Alessandra. Thanks for handing in the report this morning. I would also like to get your help on this analysis, and I sent the questions to you on the Excel spreadsheet. It will be great if you could tidy up the spreadsheet and run the first version of the analysis by the end of today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your request. I honestly was not expecting that I had to still handle something within today, consider the work that has been done so far. And right today, another deadline is there for me. So I'm feeling quite overwhelmed. I fear that I would actually make mistakes on this. What about giving each other a little bit more time? Well, in this case, giving me a little bit more time on this. Because I feel that otherwise this is going to create a lot of unnecessary stress for me. And please don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just, it's becoming really too much. How would that feel for you if I say no to this one?
What is a good time for you? When do you think, like maybe tomorrow by the end of today, or?
To be completely realistic, to have it done, even if it seems something very easy, it would require me to take the attention from the other projects for which the deadline is really, really daunting me. So I would say realistically next week in the morning. Thank you for that.
That's a bit late, but let's see how your other project goes. Maybe we will find an opening on Friday.
Thank you for the understanding. I really appreciate it. Sure. I hope you don't take this wrong. Like, I don't want to do that. That would be my fear.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, at the end of the day, I find it important that you're not super stressed, and also the quality of the work should be okay. So it doesn't help us if you are doing mistakes and stressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very kind. Thank you to the volunteers once again. So what did we do now? We said no. I'm coming to you now for the question that I know you have, Otke. So a few sentences that I used here. I'm paraphrasing actually in this slide, but it's for your practicality. You can acknowledge people when saying no. No is not a complete sentence as people think, and we don't always have to have a conflict out of it. Again, I hear how important it is. However, I don't have time for it. Alternatively, I could do this and that. Always show an alternative and connect to the feeling that make you say no. It's not to justify yourself necessarily, but is to avoid all these unnecessary pile up of things that actually create a lot of potential burnout, especially in a situation of workplace. Again, you can also say, I'd love to say yes, but now is not the right time. Or you can say, I have a fear of saying no to this because perhaps you think bad of me. But again, it's something that I can't do. I see here a question in the chat. The volunteers were nice, of course. Here we're simulating. How do you handle someone who is aggressive? Okay, yes. So in this case, when I am having to have this conversation, when I'm having this conversation with somebody who doesn't want to drop and continues trying to be to impose a little bit on me, there is also something that I say. It is the withdrawal technique, meaning I decided to withdraw from the situation. Being assertive doesn't mean that you're always going to receive assertiveness in return. But again, there is a lot of potential in being assertive because you can spread it into your company culture, into your team culture. So if everyone connects with that, we can have all better communication skills and better mental health. However, there are people for whom perhaps this is a no-go as a communication style, and they might be aggressive and they might want to force things on us. In those situations, I say, I'm very sorry, I need to stop our conversation now because this is making me feel too nervous. I explain my reason to say no. I explain what my request is, and I'm feeling that that it's not landing. How about we make a break to this conversation? This is really very, very powerful. It's hard to do. Again, you have to have courage in this situation. And some people ask me, how do you go past the fear of having this conversation? You will still have fear. But how do I go past this is thinking, what if I don't have this conversation? What if I say yes to everything? What if I don't tackle the elephant in the room with colleagues or with people that care about me? It's much worse for our communication and for my mental health. Therefore, you choose the fear despite of it. Once again, this takes practice. So I want to encourage you to do it with baby steps. So don't go tomorrow to your scariest no person. Start with something which is a baby step. Say no to something a little bit easier to say no to, or make a request that is reasonable and try to see how this plays out. But if somebody is aggressive, you have the right to step aside, to say no to that as well. All right, so I know, Oskar, that you have a question. You can go ahead, and then I'm going to talk for a moment about how to say no to digital, which is very important too.
Thank you. So a remark and a question which are connected. I think it's also important for us and for everyone in the company not to only say no, but also to accept no as an answer and not being offended by it. Because when part of the deal, when we are super nice to people, is to avoid conflict and to hope that we never hear no as an answer. So when someone with all good intentions, and I know they have good intentions, I know they are honoring themselves and they're protecting their space. When someone says no to me, sometimes I'm a bit shocked a bit, and then I say, okay, it's not personal. They're protecting their space. So maybe we increase that type of awareness for people that they don't get no as a personal rejection, and it's okay. And this is I assume this conversation, this workshop is mostly for the Western culture, European and American. But as you might know very well, in the Far Asian cultures, no is unspeakable, almost.
This is
Maybe with
very
the
interesting.
new generation, maybe I don't know how new millennials and generations that are doing it in the business world, but the material I used to learn intercultural communication was based on Generation X and Boomers. So we learned in intercultural communication that in Japan, for instance, in the business environment or in social life, you can basically not say no, clearly at least. So you need to understand the Japanese culture, which yes, it actually means no.
Yes, so thank you for your remark, Ozge. Absolutely, it's very interesting. So this goes a lot deeper because here we would be talking about intercultural communication, meaning, again, what could be a very indirect way of speaking, right? You made the example of Japanese culture, even the Italian culture. We are very context-oriented, so we're very indirect in many things. So for sure, when I teach these trainings, I always tell managers and teams, let's try to be mindful of the culture. So I don't think it's impossible to teach assertiveness or say no to cultures, for example, who have the no as a no-go. In that case, what I do is that I really try and teach them what is the easiest way that you convey what's the no, where the no is coming from. So I help people connect more to their feelings behind it rather than the word no. You see what I want to also say here? Because many people fear the word no, because no can be hurtful. And it's very true. I got this comment when I was teaching this for a company who had also people in Singapore. And the people in Singapore were telling me it's going to be very hard for us to be assertive. But while we were actually going into their culture and making them understand, okay, what is the fear? In many cases was fear of authority. So then how can I deal with the authority and still make my point of view seen? That's a very deep thing. But for sure, being culturally aware is important for assertiveness trainings. Absolutely. So thank you. Thank you for this point.
Thank you.
All right. So in the minutes that we still have together, I wanted to make one important point. Many people, when they say no, they tell me, but I fear of missing out. The so-called FOMO, the fear of missing out. I want to actually encourage you to have JOMO, the joy of missing out. The joy of missing out means if I'm saying no to something, it means I'm also saying yes to something else. So you're not only losing, you are gaining too. So what about that? What if we could have this at the workplace or in our lives? Actually, there is science showing that the FOMO, people who feel the FOMO, go and reach to their phone more. They go and reach to the internet more. They need to be more stimulated because they always want to see what is the external reward, right? And they have more difficulty in saying no. Therefore, they can become really, really stressed out. So my call to action here in these minutes together is that you think, what am I saying yes to if I say a no from time to time? And placing a boundary also from digital is super important. Perhaps you can be assertive with your own phone, or you can do a social media detox from time to time. Ozge was saying something very important. If we need to learn to say no, we need to be able to accept it. So what if other people decide, perhaps I don't answer this WhatsApp today? I have a WhatsApp free day, which is Thursday. And people who are in my environment, they know it. And therefore they respect that. This is my no to WhatsApp for an entire day till the evening. And then in the evening, I have fun seeing how many messages. You get the reward, right? It's very human to want it to be connected. So once again, this is an act of assertiveness, and this is good for our mental health. I want to also show you a little bit of a case study because, again, as I told you, I'm very practical in what I do, and I am proud to show you my work. Actually, in the case study of the teams, how this played out with a large medical company in Switzerland, there were people facing a lot of challenges with remote communications. Many of them were struggling to communicate properly. There were different cultures. This is a very good coincidence. At the end of the assertiveness training, people were feeling more relaxed about communication. The manager was more able to create a safe space. And actually, the good thing was that they started doing this communication in the entire companies, not only a team. So this was spreading into the company culture. It takes time, but it's worth it for people mental health. All right, so I would like also to then show you a little bit how we can be in touch. I'm going to participating in a few minutes also in the panel of this event, the Strengthen Up event that you are participating right now. So I hope you stay then at 6:30 in a little bit more than 15 minutes to be able to then see what we are sharing regarding that. I would like to now open for perhaps one question, and then starting also to share with you a couple of links. I would like to give you a freebie, a so-called freebie. You know that when you have a website, you could give some free material also as a thank you for being part of this to celebrate World Mental Health Day. And I'm going to drop in the chat a link where you can actually have a document called Assertive Communication Tool, especially Assertive at Work, where everything that is in this presentation, it's getting a little bit summarized. So you also have that type of document.